Hello everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to our Ontario Landlords Watch YouTube channel. We just came back from an amazing conference in London, hosted by Matt McKeever and Jeff Wybo. I am very impressed. My husband was impressed. There's many Ontario Landlords Watch members that were there at this conference who were floored with the setup, the guest speakers, the type of education, the type of knowledge, different ways of investing that we were just completely shocked. We really, really enjoyed ourselves. We got to meet with so many different type of investors and different type of real estate agents and property managers. We got to meet some people with accounting to teach us about accounting. And it was just an experience that I think a lot of landlords need to experience. I know it's not normal for people to be like, hey, it's a conference. I'm not really into talking to strangers. But in reality, it's really, really important to be networking as investors in Ontario for the simple fact that it can open up so many more doors for you if you plan to use real estate as your financial freedom and your way of retiring. Even though the government is out to completely get us and there's more responsibility coming down the line. But we do have to say that real estate is still a really good investment, and it's a really safe investment right now. So we want to, expand on the fact that, you need to keep yourself learning as much as you possibly can. Show up to these type of conferences. You get to meet, we got to meet about wholesaling. Has anybody know anything about wholesaling real estate? I was blown away. You'd be surprised on what type of deals that these investors are finding by wholesaling. So we're looking forward to be able to bring someone to you on our YouTube channel or our Facebook Live to explain to you what wholesaling is all about. We want to be able to bring more people to you to talk about Airbnb and short-term rentals, which we're going to have a lot of that talk at our conference in October in Cambridge. So we're looking at, still doing our normal, talking about the Residential and Tenancy Act, talking about the Landlord and Tenant Board. And this year we're going to be bringing different ways to help you invest and to keep you growing and build your portfolio, and we'll teach you how to do it. The one thing that I was taught this weekend is that social media is obviously a good way to grow in this industry and to grow your business if it's a service or a product that you have, as well as being a realtor. It's really great, and you can learn from the most amazing people at this conference, and they're in our group, so make sure that you just reach out to them. You can check OREC 2018 and actually see who our guest speakers were. I had the opportunity to be the guest speaker at this event, and it was amazing. It was amazing to stand there in front of all those people to explain to them who Ontario Landlords Watch is, what we stand for, how many members are in our group, and what else are we planning to do to protect landlords and to help landlords and support in any way that we possibly can. Speaking of which, on Thursday, I think it was Thursday or Friday, we had a post in the group from CBC. It was a reporter wanting to get some feedback from the landlords in regards to the councillor in Toronto who is interested in enforcing the landlords keep rental properties at a certain temperature. Right now we do have the Residential and Tenancy Act that, with your heating, it was I believe it's 21 Celsius, in which you have to keep your heat on, but there was never anything really about the coolness. Now, I believe this councillor is now trying to champion that landlords are going to be the type of investor now to provide that type of luxury item, as I would call it, at the landlord's expense. So for us, it's okay, if you have an apartment building and there's the AC's already in there, it's just the landlord hasn't turned it on, I get it. That, turn it on the hot days, every landlord should be on top of it if it's there. But to get further into the details of us putting the air conditioners in, either it's central air or it's a window AC, so we would have to, cover the cost to buy that equipment, to maintain that equipment, and to cover the cost of hydro to run that equipment. That's where we're you're drawing the line. No landlord should be forced to provide an air conditioning by force. Don't get me wrong, we have been putting central air into our units for the luxury of it, and tenants are willing to pay more for us to install this equipment in there. But enforcing landlords to be supplying these type of equipment on the cost of the investors is just another strike in the system in which the government is making it harder and harder for people to want to get into rental properties and to stay an investor in the rental business. Everything, we do have a lot of things that play in to being in real estate, from the banks and the mortgage rates and things like that. But the government's involvement is getting so severe now. It's very scary. And that's why with the election near, we're like, which one do you get? We already see the Liberals and what they're capable of with the Rental Fairness Act, with the standard lease that is not going to help anybody. And we have the NDP, which I think the NDP is, if you are, in that tax bracket of 30,000 or less, sure, NDP is going to be that person you would want to vote for. But they're technically wanting to take from the rich who worked very, very hard for their money and give to people who may need it. We do have people who may need it, but then we have people who are just abusing the system. So my money is going to be on Ford. We're not too sure where it's going to go. You know what? It's really hard to kind of pick which one is going to try to look into listening to the investors and listening to our concerns, because landlords are not the problem. They are the solution. I believe from the stats of someone had told me that, the private investors have 80% of the stock. And what irritates me the most is that we do have the government who is passing their responsibility to the private investors with no compensation. They have us going from evictions to different type of payment methods. I think that as this is my business, this is how I want to, this is my rent is what I want to charge, and this is the way that I want my payment every single month. I don't see why the government is now intervening so heavily in our industry, in our business, versus, getting into the grocery store business and trying to tell them, you can't be putting the grocery prices to these high rates, from, buying strawberries at, $5 to $6 for a pound of strawberries. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, but people still buy it. They have the bread, the milk, everything that you need to get. Our groceries, our weekly groceries now are at $263 a week, and from lunches and school snacks, and then you have your suppers that you have to put in there. How come the government is not going after grocery stores? But they're definitely heavy involved into the landlord business, the real estate business in general. So this is why we need to come together. We need to be united. We need to be the type of business that connects with one another to become the stronger voice. As we say in the group, together we stand, divided we fall. So if we don't come together and we don't go to these conferences and we don't meet each other face to face or through the Facebook group, and we just let the government do what they're going to do, they're going to do what they're going to do. And it's going to make your investment not worth it anymore. Just like when we go to these conferences, they teach us how to invest, how to make money. And the one thing that you hear a lot from this weekend was that you are being cheap. Don't be spending your money. You have to conserve, buy, you do want a lot of things, but just look back and say, hey, do I really, really need it? No, you don't need it. So you got to save your money. Then you're going to have to look at ways to earn more money. And then you got to look at ways to invest that money to keep yourself going stronger and stronger to build your portfolio. For us, it was a buy early, at 18, and a lot of people are only now getting into the game. So our investments are really working very, very well for us. But for other people who are trying to get into the industry, it's not working that strongly for them quite yet, because the market is absolutely crazy. This is a supply and demand issue. I do know that the province is really trying to encourage investors to open up their basement units, to create basement units, and the municipalities are going to start to make it a little bit easier for the investors to do so. But don't think it's all good and they're trying just to help you make money, because they're making money at the same time, because your property taxes are going to increase knowing that you have a secondary unit. Your insurance is going to increase because you have a secondary unit, and then you have your tenants in that unit. You're now living above your tenants, and you have to deal with everything that could potentially go wrong by living above your tenants. And it could be very, very stressful. I've had landlords call me and they legitimately cry because of what is happening in their situation as they legalize their secondary unit in their basement. So we all have to kind of take everything into account about trying to encourage more investors. And the only way to do that is for the government to come to the investors table and to listen to what we would like to see. My opinion is that we have, incentives that actually are beneficial. So if you have rental units that are all inclusive, can we try to give that landlord a break on the utility bills? How about different type of taxes, giving us cheaper taxes to encourage more investors to get into the rental property? Instead, it's actually a lot more because you have a rental property. Help us out. Tell the insurance company to give us lower insurance because we are providing a necessity to the industry. Help us out with the landlord and tenant board and how we have to pay for legal representation. Are you going to give us a helping hand and let us get some connection to legal assistance without having to pay an arm and a leg to get it, or always constantly having to call in your paralegal because our tenant is now going through the loopholes and avoiding the actual eviction process? Or do you just make it fair across the board and get the tenants to have to pay for their own legal representation, or have them apply to legal aid versus just giving it to them? There's lots of different ways that we can think of, and we personally invite the Ministry of Housing, the Attorney Generals, to a meeting with all the landlords associations right across Ontario and get our opinion, get our solutions to this crazy housing crisis that we currently have. But I want to wrap up just for today. So if you have any questions, please give us a comment below. Share the videos with many investors as you can. Join our Facebook landlord group. We also, like I said, we have a conference coming up in Cambridge, October 21st, 2018 at the Cambridge Portuguese Club. That event will be from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. We will be providing a nice Portuguese lunch for you to enjoy while you get to listen to our amazing guest speakers, meet with fantastic products and services providers, and we have a lot more that we want to be able to provide to you at this amazing conference / celebration of Ontario Landlords Watch. So if you don't know exactly where you can find us, if you go into the Ontario Landlords Watch Facebook page, you will see a link there for our group. Just send us a request. Tell us how you found out about us, and we'll try and get you into the group as fast as we possibly can. Until we do another YouTube video with you or a Facebook Live. Thank you so much for watching. Happy renting.